Okay, welcome everyone. This is November 12th, 2025, Lincoln County School District Board of Directors work session. And we're going to get right to it. We do have a quorum. We are missing two board members, but they are both excused for this evening. So we have Natalie Schaefer and Dave Cowden and me, Peter Vinci, to start us off. And we're going to start with a tour of the facility here real quickly from Rich Bologna.
So we're just going to go out this door right here.
Here into the dark. Okay.
Yeah, see in the dark.
Amazing.
Bring
Corey, the board's going to take a quick tour right now of some of the facilities and then they'll be back. Got it. Thank you.
He's in his vein.
It's almost creepy. Adam, one of yours?
I know, it's
Okay.
creepier when he said he's in his van.
Yeah, that part didn't help much. It's a really cool band.
I've been sorry.
Hopefully he's doing something fun. Better lighting.
Well, Rich, thanks for the tour, and it's gratifying to see so much progress in such a little bit of time, and just the capability of the capacity that we're offering our students in Lincoln County. It just continues to grow, and what a great time to be a student here.
One thing I didn't say, I guess, is that about the sewer line that came from the county animal shelter. Comes down through past the deal down to below the road we were on down to our sewer treatment plant. Can't see it.
Yeah.
It's buried, looks good, and they're done.
Yeah, I know that getting that agreement took a little while.
A long time.
Yeah.
They got two little tiny things to do, but basically they're done.
Okay, so now we're going to hear from our architect.
Yes,
Uh,
architects.
Architects, yes.
You get a group of us. So.
Yeah. So you want to start with Wallports?
We're gonna actually start with the auditorium piece, and Adam, who's online, is going to talk a little bit about that. So I don't know if you're there, Adam. Yes, you are. Excellent. So and you can go ahead and show the screen if that works.
Sure.
Can you hear us, Adam? And we can't hear him.
He's on mute.
How about now?
Yes. Yes.
Ooh.
Perfect. Okay, so we're talking about 3 auditoriums today. So let's go ahead and jump to the next slide.
Are we sharing the screen?
Yes.
I don't know who we are, actually.
Oh,
Just so Adam knows what page we're on.
yeah.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you. I was going to wing it and say, so maybe
He's ready.
Can you guys share your screen?
that's starting now.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
And I'm going to let you drive.
All right.
Far away from that.
That works. So today we're going to talk about the auditorium space itself. So the box that's going to be the auditorium, that it's very similar for all 3 schools. There's a difference in seat count, but for the most part it's similar. Adam's going to talk about that. Then we'll talk about Newport, Wellport, and then Toledo. And go through each of those.
Might be a scroll.
It's gonna- yeah.
To scroll. Ooh. There we go. So Adam.
Okay. This is one of our conceptual layouts, or sorry, one school's layout. There's a lot of similarities in the things that I'm going to talk about today, which is the sort of the order of the room, how people flow in and out of it, how it sort of works, are basically the same high level concepts. Of course, the rooms will be rendered by the architects in different ways. The seat counts vary. Only in one case, Newport is target is slightly larger. Let's talk about that first. So the ask at Newport was 325 seats, whereas Toledo and Wallport 310. So not a huge difference, but that's a relatively consistent thing going there. And I'm wondering if whoever is driving can sort of follow along and use a cursor as yes, okay, great. Let's take audiences through. So imagine, if you will, outside of the box, our pre-function or lobby area, and coming in to each of the rooms through what's called a sound and light lock, which is basically it's an inside weather vestibule, but instead of keeping out the weather, it's keeping out noise and light, so that if someone comes and goes during a performance, or the outside is quite, the lobbies are filled with daylight, that those aren't intruding into the room. So And we're at what I'm going to call zero level. So sort of plaza level, lobby level, and the entry level, and this mid portion of the room and the stage and the routes between all those things are all at the same level. So whether you're walking, whether Dustin is on crutches because he's done something spectacular on the mountain, or I've come back and visited you and I'm coming in on a wheelchair and I want to sit in a great spot and then receive the 10-year, the 50-year award for awesome school design, will come in on a wheelchair, and everyone's taking the same route. The advantage in reverse, really exciting if there's a performance that wants to sort of reach the performers out into the audience. We have ways to routes to just come right out into the audience. So that's a consistent theme. That cross aisle is where most of the wheelchair positions are handily. And in a couple of cases where some of the tech involves, when they're setting up for shows or operating the shows from the sound side, we have this very accessible and centralized porch. We do that sound mixing in a couple of different ways, which we'll look at as we get into each of the individual schools. So far, so good. Am I making sense? Is it audible, or we see everything okay?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so far so good. All right. Let's see. Moving backward in the room. Oh, let me just do something with my. No, I'll go wait for the section. Hold that thought about sightlines. Then your next question. Going backward in the room, as the terrace seats rise from that crossover, we have an elevated and enclosed control room, so that the technicians can run a show and chat to each other during a performance and operate lights and call cues and such from an enclosed room. And because that's a teaching space and something, and those jobs you can do from a wheelchair, it's wheelchair accessible. And then we say, well, if we have a space that's wheelchair accessible for tech, let's leverage that we've gotten there and also have a wheelchair position for the audience back there as well. So we have a choice of different places that folks can sit. That's in this diagram represented on the left. There's a stair and a wheelchair lift to get from zero up to, in this case, would be probably something like 4 or 5 feet above zero. Going simply forward in the room, the primary entrance in a couple of cases is from one side because of how the theaters fit on the site. At a seat count like this, we don't think that's a problem. It's not a massive bottleneck for 300 bodies. It'll take you a minute to walk out at the end of the performance when everyone is doing so, but not so terrible by any stretch. We have, as you can see, there's some sort of extra space at that entry, so there's a little congregation as you're waiting to leave. The stage, like we said, is the same level. There's in all cases some stage in front of the main curtain, and that allows for a couple of things. One is when there's a show being set up over weeks, and yet during the setup period, you just want to use the auditorium for a gathering, a lecture, an assembly. Close the main curtain. There's real estate to stand on an elevated stage, sort of on the audience side of a closed main curtain, if that makes sense. So that's the situation in plan. Let's go to the next slide real quick. So this is if we took that plan, we took that cake and we sliced it and we took half the cake away and we're looking at the side of the cake. So this is a section view of the theater, and you can sort of spot that the stage elevation and that middle entry elevation is about the same, is at the same elevation in the room. And then as you go forward in the room, the rows terrace down, and as you go back in the room, the rows terrace upward. So in essence, we have a raised stage, but we didn't lift the stage. We lowered the people. And what's shown in light lines are the early geometry studies that we do to sort of set the different levels to make exceptional sight lines for everybody in the room. So as we would hope in a brand new building and a room of this size, okay, a room of any size that I do, no bad seats, no better sight lines than others. It's a matter of where you like to sit, right up front or get a perspective further back. Right? Then let's get to the technical side. So in putting shows together, obviously there's lots of music practice and running lines and how it's directed and costumes. And then we go on to props, stuff that people touch and move about, and scenery that you walk about. And a lot of other things are supported overhead one way or another. So we don't see anything without light. So theatrical lighting plays a large role in how we experience shows. And since it's overhead, we have to think, okay, how do we get there safely, anytime, and quickly? So what we've done in a lot of schools, and without exception, all those constituents that we talk to in your county, schools, faculty, leadership, have embraced what we're putting forth here, which is you can see it on the left actually the whole four photographs. Thank you very much. It's referred to as a tension wire grid or a tension grid. And the easiest way to imagine it is that it's an industrial tennis racket. So, but it's engineered steel frames with an 1/8-inch aircraft cable woven at 2 inches on center. So in that second shot in the middle there, the camera is almost sitting right on the walking surface. And those are threaded and pulled quite tight, and you walk out on it. And it deflects a little bit, but it's not scary. In fact, I just had a group of old donors that came to a project, and before I could tell them anything, they just ran out on this thing. So I'm old, so let's just theatrical light goes right through it without even shadowing. So what that means, you can see there, the technician on the right image, is that the stage lights or loudspeakers or microphones, or even if I want to thread something and suspend something, I can pass this through this basically invisible surface and get anywhere I need to go to around the stage without getting out any ladders and putting students on ladders. So let's go back to the image of the section. That is over the entirety of the stage. Thank you. There. And then over the audience and over the front of the stage, we have catwalks, obviously, that have safety railings and such, because we don't need to cover quite as much square footage on that side of the curtain line. Any questions on that stuff?
So one thing to keep in mind, this is in lieu of what maybe a lot of times you've seen or that they have at the PAC, which is a full fly loft, which is very difficult to teach students how to do stuff using a fly loft, because it's really the tech person that's hired by the school district that ends up doing all that work, because it's on a ladder, it's using weights, it's doing a lot of things that aren't safe from a kid's standpoint. So this is a nice means of providing a lighting and things like that above, and giving safe access so the kids can actually aim those lights and set things up.
I have a question. On either side of on the stage, looking at it from the audience perspective, there are wing walls that come out that the curtain
Yeah.
does not cover. Are the green rooms for the performers on those spaces behind those wing walls, or are they some
They're
walls
somewhere
off
else, and we'll get to that as we get into the plans
question.
for each of the schools, but that's an excellent question, yes. Any other questions before we move on to the individual schools?
Just a quick question on the seating capacity.
Mhm.
Those numbers were arrived at through discussions with staff?
Yes,
Because I know in Toledo, there was a discussion to push that as high as possible.
yes. There was a highest possible plus equity, point. Toledo is going to be an expensive project just because of the sloping site
Yeah.
that it's on and the foundation work that's going to be put into that. So there was a compromise made as far as cost versus capacity and really space available on that site. So. Any other questions? All right, I think we're going to move on.
Yeah, please.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks,
And
folks.
stay on because there's
Of
going
course.
to be more theatrical stuff. So Newport High School. So Adam and Amanda are going to talk about that.
Yeah, I think Adam, you did a great job covering sort of the overarching concepts with the auditorium spaces that are going to be consistent through all three of them. So you'll see like slight variations in different design, but overall concept remains consistent. I think, for us, we're incredibly excited to be here. What you're going to see right now is the result of community input, staff input, student input, right? That was some of the most fun input we received. And then as these designs have developed, they've sort of grown, and then Rich has rightfully reminded us that they need to be widowed down. So there is a budget.
And they still need to go on a diet. So
Yes, they still need to
we're
go
not
on a
there
diet,
yet,
yeah.
but we're pretty close.
I think the thing you got to remember is this is what everybody said they wanted, and I think all the principals would agree that they listened, they came back with the ideas, and this is what they'd really like to have. Whether we're going to be able to afford that, we won't know until we get the CMGCs on board. I'm worried about it.
And because Rich is worried, we are worried as well. Amanda and Sarah are going to dive into the actual plan parts, but I think for Newport, those of you that are familiar with the site, it's where the tennis courts are to the west on the field of the West Campus. So some of the things we're trying to do to be economical as we pursue this design. So there's about 13 feet of fill there. It's a sloping site, but there's a big wall there that has a bunch of fill. So sort of trying to position this building where you can stack some of these classroom spaces and support spaces on top. So you're sharing foundation, sharing roofs, trying to keep the classrooms and support spaces as minimal as possible is something that we're really trying to focus on as well. So Amanda, do you want to touch on?
Absolutely. I don't know if I should gesture or have you with the cursor.
I'll try.
Probably both.
Yeah. Let me know if I'm pointing to the wrong place. So.
The south portion of the building is the auditorium, and it looks really similar in a lot of ways to the diagram we already looked at that Adam outlined really beautifully. Our stage is on the west side, and then the seating goes out toward the parking lot. So you can see where all the doors line up coming in kind of on a diagonal on that north side there, from the parking lot through kind of a weather lock, through the lobby, and then into the sound and light lock to enter into the auditorium, kind of all aligned on that diagonal. So at that point, you're at the zero that Adam was discussing, and the seats on the left rake down toward the stage, and the seats on the right rake up. And we have a bit of a steeper rake for the parterre. I learned that word. It means upper seating area. I'm very proud to have memorized it. So we've raked it more steeply so that by the time you're at the top, you're at a second level that can also be served by the elevator, so that we're using that element that we need because of our steep site in as many ways as possible. To the north, in the far left, is the fire stair. And just to the right of that is kind of the dressing room area that has individual dressing rooms, and then a larger open dressing room area that can also be used as a small green room. The next room is the classroom / additional green room that can be used in larger events like orchestra festivals when more than one queuing space is needed. And then there's some storage elements, and then the bathrooms are forward facing next to the entry. So the most fun thing about this type of project for me as an architect is that we get to consider all the different building users, because first and foremost, this is for the students, but we also have to think about the experiential process for patrons of the arts, for community members, and what parts of the building everyone has access to and when. So if you're a student, you're still going to come in through the lobby, you're still going to use the restrooms, and you're going to have access to the classroom where you're being taught, but the rest of the building is going to be secured unless you're with a teacher formally using the auditorium spaces. If you are an audience member, you're going to use the lobby, you're going to come into the auditorium and have a lovely experience with fantastic arts and theater and speaking and spelling bees and all the many things that we've talked about. And then that's really probably the only elements that you're going to use: the public spaces, restrooms, auditorium. If you're a community member, we want to be able to secure the classroom green room, and you can still have access to dressing rooms and the smaller green room and the auditorium, but all the things that are for school use are very easily controlled access as well. The next slide down, I believe, is the basement, which this is just different views looking at the auditorium. So on the left is where we can see the full amount of seating. The first drawing showed how we snuck some storage underneath it, but this would be the full auditorium view. And then on the right is the catwalk. This is what Adam was discussing, where we have the mesh grid over the stage and then the more solid with railing catwalks out over the audience. One thing we're really excited about is this elevator can also service that catwalk area, kind of future-proofing it and making all the teaching spaces as accessible as possible, which is not necessarily required, but that's the way the code is moving. So the future-proofing element is coming through there. And the fire stair reaches that area as well. And then the last drawing and plan is of the basement. And this is what we're gifted just based on the site having such a steep drop so suddenly. And one thing that's really unique to this specific auditorium is it gives us the opportunity to put it in an orchestra pit that can be used by all of the programs at the high school and community should it be necessary. But it's not something that's naturally part of the basement level, rather than having to do a lot of excavation and drainage and work for an element that is not as frequently used as the other elements of the auditorium. So we're really excited that this kind of feels like a win without really doing any extra excavation at all. So that was a really wonderful component of this site. The rest of the area under the stage for now, we've just kind of made unfinished, but knowing that it can be used for future practice rooms. It could be used for a shop. It could be used for all the storage that ends up happening when you have props and costumes and sets all coming together, needing to be recycled and reused occasionally. In terms of getting large elements from the basement up to the stage, we're currently working on 3 different approaches. One is a larger than average service size elevator. One is on the upper level. We actually have a bit of a vestibule that accesses directly to the stage. So something could be delivered by vehicle, unloaded through overhead doors and wheeled onto stage from that. And the final one is looking at some sort of lift involving the orchestra pit for something that's very large that could be lifted into place. So we still have lots of options on the table for that component of any program.
I think all those elements too, 2 of the 3 go away, right? You don't have a huge elevator if one of the other ones work. You don't have an orchestra lift if some of the others, and we would remove the loading if. So with right now showing 3 different options that could accommodate that.
Trying to stay flexible as we move forward into the next phases.
We're not eliminating the orchestra pit elevator yet, but it's really expensive, so probably highly unlikely it'll go, but we're not willing to give it up yet.
You go down, please move the massing.
Yeah.
So this is an image that's a section cut through the auditorium, through the stage, and through that future classroom space that Amanda was alluding to. And if you go to the next slide, Chris. So it looks really fancy. It looks complicated. It's not. It's just a bunch of sloped roofs that meet in certain points. these buildings are incredibly tall, right? They just need a lot of height to accommodate these spaces. And so trying to do all we can to make sure that we have sloping roofs that will drain properly on the Oregon coast while not exceeding our 50-foot height limit has been a fun challenge. You want to go to the next one, Chris?
Sorry, can we go back and orient them
Oh, yeah,
to what
please.
that view was?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, go. Yeah.
okay. So I'm going to point. Chris can follow my finger. We'll see how good it works. But this is kind of that entry that Amanda was talking about, right? So we had those double doors kind of on diagonal that were going straight into the auditorium. So that's what those are looking at there. And this is like that restroom volume that Amanda was talking about. And then this is the parterre area as well. So kind of between these elements, looking at just a glassy light, kind of like lantern that really signals you're welcome to come here. It's a really celebratory moment because there's so much of these buildings that has to be opaque necessarily. So kind of focusing that effort into that location. So and then more straight on to that, looking into the lobby. I'm sorry, I know this was
No,
supposed to be
go
your
for
talking point.
No,
And
take it
then
away, Sarah.
there's like you go in those doors in the lobby and there's a stair. And I think, Amanda, one thing I wanted to confirm too is we had that elevator that was going up, but that it also services to the second level of the auditorium to make it accessible too. So kind of in the lobby itself, you'd be able to come in, see people kind of moving across this upper balcony. It could be an impromptu Romeo and Juliet moment or call people into the show because it's about to start or something as well. Or they could take the stair kind of to get up there and enter the theater here. And that would also make the lighting booth and the tech booth accessible as well because that's at the back of the stage. So we're kind of trying to hit on it as many locations as possible.
That elevator is doing a lot of work.
It's a busy elevator.
Yeah.
So there's not a third level where people can walk around.
No.
Okay.
Well, the
There's
third
a
level
lot.
in theory is the catwalk,
Okay.
which is serviced by the elevator as well to make it accessible. So that elevator is stopping at basement, stage level, second level to access the parterre and the light booth, and catwalk.
Okay.
It also opens directly to stage side for moving, performers during performances. If someone needs elevator access and it's part of the show, they don't have to go through the lobby in any way and can stay back up.
Sort of the backside, staff parking.
So yeah, staff parking, here's that access to the unfinished basement area that Dustin was talking about, and then kind of that other entrance into the basement area. This is the fire stair located here, and then where these higher clear story windows are, we're envisioning as the dressing room, so you get maybe some daylight in those rooms as well. And then the classroom / green room next to that with a good amount of glass on it too. So again, just trying to concentrate our glass in the areas that people using the building day to day or coming to the building are going to experience it most. And then a view of kind of that loading dock option that Amanda and Dustin were talking about, kind of coming along the side there. So here you can see this kind of like stepping of the building too, along with the sides of the theater to help kind of break down that mass overall and add some interest to the space. So really working with what the interior form wants to be in this location, and then having this wraparound canopy that provides people a nice covered place to be dropped off or move around the building and enter when it's raining outside. And then again, there's that lobby there. So you can kind of see it from multiple directions, greeting you and receiving you as you arrive at the site.
And from above.
And from
Yeah,
above,
view from
anything
above.
you want to add here?
No, we touch on the roof. Maybe just go to the interior images, please. You don't mind.
And then as an interior designer, I also like to make sure that as we're massing the building, we're thinking about that interior experience would feel like as well. So this is kind of giving you a sense of what that, double and a half, triple height lobby space could feel like when you're coming in with that stair wrapping around and maybe having that moment for people to interact from the upper and lower levels, but also being able to see out at what's happening outside of the building as well. And then a view from that upper level too, and just the kind of the great views you'll have out of the building when you're there.
All right.
Any questions?
Are there any questions?
Chris is like moving.
I don't know. Well, we did promise 8 minutes for these. But I knew
Well, we're
that wasn't gonna
excited.
happen.
It's all right, you're good.
But, all right, so, thank you guys, so a lot of the concepts that Dustin and Amanda and Sarah talked about are true to all three of the sites. So I won't touch on all of those things, so that keep in mind that we thought about all of those pieces as we worked through all of these, and they are all very different because we have different sites, different user groups, different people that we talk to. So the Walport, which is right here, we already talked about the site a little bit. So it's going to be right over there next to the parking lot. You can see the parking lot here. So it's sort of adjacent kitty corner to your existing main entry to the building. So it's like Newport, it's a separate building from the main school, but it's ends up being a sort of a standalone performing arts center in that way. We have similarly a entry vestibule that is off of the parking lot that would have access to parking as long as access to a drop-off zone. And then a vestibule area for gathering just outside of that. And then the main auditorium piece that we've already talked about. This auditorium is a little bit different in that it has a sound booth out in the middle of the upper partie portion, and then a light booth up above here. There are restrooms off of that main entry area, and then in the back portion, there's an opportunity for band to move out there and get out of this portion of the building. A drama classroom / green room / dressing room area. We combined all of those in this scheme to try and reduce square footage. And then a drama workshop / storage space off to the end here. This scheme it maybe seems a little more compact than the scheme we just looked at. Partially that's because we're on a pretty simple site. It's nice and flat. It had, I think, some of the best soils that we looked at as far as soils engineering goes. So it makes it easy. It's also potentially easier to phase if we get to the point where we need to do that. So we could do the auditorium, vestibule, restroom zone in a phase, and a second phase maybe built by the school district could be this band drama classroom area next to it.
It works the same as they were talking about the other side. You could come in for school, they can come into the top area there, go into the deal and not go around the rest of the building. So you can have class there and they don't get the run of the building.
Yeah, one of the keys that we talked to with staff was that they wanted the ability to hold class in this space without giving access to the stage area. And then vice versa, they want to give, if a community performance comes in, they want to give access to the stage and auditorium and the drama classroom green room space, but not necessarily the workshop or the band room. So it's set up to accomplish both those things. From a massing standpoint, it's a pretty simple building, kind of like the buildings that you have here already. The shed roof on the one side and a simple gable on the other, with a sort of strong emphasis on that main entry for the auditorium space off of that parking area and this drop-off zone that we already talked about. Another view of that entry from eye level. You can also see into the band room here with some glass in that zone. And
with blackout shades for Sue.
Yes, and it would definitely have some blackout shades. It was here, right?
Yeah.
I thought so. And then as we move on, looking at the It's a building with the school in the background. Just out of the view here is where the main entry to the school is. So it's a pretty close trip across the parking lot. We know what kind of weather you guys get, so it's maybe a running trip at sometimes. So close up of that entry, we talked about the ability in all of the projects of having being able to display art, display sort of artifacts from the drama department, other things inside that lobby space, and that it could perform as essentially an art gallery for events that don't necessarily use the auditorium at all. And a view from the inside of that lobby space. Again, trying to give enough room for people to come out at intermission, come out and mingle before or after a show, but not too much, so that we're not spending a lot of money on square footage. Any questions about Walport?
I have one.
Yes.
The sound booth for Walport was going to be in the middle of the seating or in the back of the seating. The other ones had their own booth at the rear behind all the seating. What was the decision there?
So it depends, and we still haven't completely landed yet on exactly where those all happen. There's an option to put it in the front portion of the seating, the back portion of the seating, or the back of house. The sound booth in all the situations are set up so that you're actually in the audience as opposed to in a booth, so that you can actually hear what the audience is hearing and mix sound as necessary. If you've got a really quiet performer next to a performer that really projects, for instance, if I were next to Dustin, we would have, the sound person would be able to mix that and make some adjustments.
Where it came out was out of the meetings we had with staff. The staff was wanting it down lower, where others wanted it up higher. And that can still change, because these are just drawings on a piece of paper right now, and everything can change.
Chris, we've also talked about making them like one spot, because typically we only have one person run both lights and sound, so those have been discussions. We need to cut somewhere.
So Corey, I cut you out of that one. I'm gonna let you do Toledo once we get into the massing, okay?
Yeah, if you can hear me, I'll make a go of it.
Loud and clear. So for Toledo, the site is adjacent to the cafeteria, and some of you guys may be familiar with that site, some may not. As you're coming up to Toledo, you go up that steep entry drive up and around to the parking. This would be the first thing that you see as you go up that entry drive. So it's a pretty steep site. It's one of the only spaces left on that campus to put something big. And it's the only one of the three that actually is connected to the building. So there's some real advantages there to connecting it to the building. And obviously there's some difficulties with dealing with that site. So one of the big things with this is that it's directly adjacent to the cafeteria, and that would allow them to use the cafeteria as pre-function, post-function space. One of the cool things that came out of our meetings was that they like to potentially use their culinary arts CTE program to do dinner theater. And they're really excited about the potential for doing something like that. So that's kind of a cool benefit to this site.
Chris, just because it's record, we have done it, so just so you never know that it's been done, we just want it to fit to the next one.
Yes.
It's just going to be like, oh.
This would be an elevation of that concept. So
Not
So-
roofed.
I like that better.
So the cafeteria and band room, that part is existing right now. That'd just be remodeled.
Yes,
And then the part with the doors coming into the lobby, that's all new.
yeah, everything south of this line is new. And more or less, it jogs back and forth a little bit, but before I get too much into the auditorium, I do want to mention the accessibility issues that this school has. Currently, there's a difficult route to get to the band room if you're in a wheelchair or in need of an elevator. And one of the goals of this project will be to solve that. And we're proposing a new elevator in the, basically in the existing stage area. Which is right here. And that new elevator would tie the main entry level, the band level, the cafeteria level, and also the level above this classroom wing. So all 4 of those levels would be tied together with this elevator and give finally full access to every piece of the school with an elevator. So that's one of the pieces for this project that we might break out separately. We'll see. So with the auditorium, similar to the others, we have an entry vestibule down here, a lobby space that could be used for display of art, and sort of a really fun space once we get into the interior renderings. And we have the auditorium with that similar light block that we've seen before. This auditorium has an elevator associated with it, and that's really twofold. We're utilizing the space underneath the auditorium for a workshop, as well as leveraging there's a parking area across the main entry drive to the south. And that main entry, or that parking area, could be accessed on grade to the lower level of the workshop and into this elevator and up. So potentially you can have people parking up here and get in on grade, as well as in this parking area, future parking area to the south.
You'd actually be able to park in front of the school too with the new elevator. You
Yes.
come in the front doors and come across to that elevator and down.
Yes.
So it'd be actually from all 3 areas.
So
Did I beat you to it?
around to the side of the lobby space, we have a storage room and a green room, dressing room, which is a little less developed than the Newport one. But we're in both of these areas, we're pushing underneath the existing junior high school wing, since that is way up above this space, and utilizing some of that basement area underneath there for those spaces. So this is that lower level with the workshop, the access from the south parking lot to this terrace, and you would enter the lower building there, and go up the elevator or go up the set of stairs. It's in this lower lobby. This is the section showing how all those levels fit together. So this is that existing junior high school wing, where we'll eventually be putting a videography space up there. This is the basement zone where the green room and dressing room storage are going to happen. This is the auditorium space. The lobby area and terrace outside of the auditorium, and this is all on that cafeteria level. And then the workshop would happen down below here. And then similarly, we're looking the other direction. So cafeteria, lobby, the theater box is behind. So we're not cutting through that, but we're looking through that lobby space and seeing the workshop as well. In this view, you can see the where this elevator is space is going to sort of push into the cafeteria. So there is an area in here, a design opportunity, or just what I like to call it, where we'll have to push into that cafeteria zone a little bit. And then I'm going to let Corey take it away for these. I'll try to follow along.
Hey, thanks, Chris. So you can see this is the view coming up the main entry drive, and you can see that big wall of the auditorium there with the boomer on it. That is that whole auditorium that's kind of angled off axis with the rest of the school. And what we're trying to do is introduce a way of softening that big giant wall by layering up this entry approach view with that workshop and then the lobby, so that you start to soften that big, tall, unbroken wall of the auditorium. So you can see there's that kind of 2-story high glassy entryway with the stair behind it there. And that's that lobby, that lower level lobby. So when you come across from the south parking lot across the main entry drive, you can enter into that space, then go up the stairs in this beautiful double height light filled space. And then on the south side, on the right side of this view, you can see the big garage doors of that workshop space. And our hope is that we can create a really active looking, inviting first impression when you come up the main entry drive, when you're coming to the campus, so that it's not just blank walls, and we're really using the window we have available to activate the entire campus and make it dramatic and make it feel like it's an active, useful, inviting part of the community. So if you go to the next slide, we're just kind of moving around a little bit and focusing straight in on that main entry. And you can see those double entry doors on the lower left there. And then that stair going up through that space that's a 2-story volume. Kind of not that different from the space at New. So they both have these kind of double floor, 2-story entry lobbies. This one, because of the introduction of this workshop down below to try and kind of step the whole shape of the building so it's not so tall and blank, it provides an opportunity to have a terrace you can see on the right side there. So just outside of the lobby, that entry stair lobby, there's a terrace above that workshop, so people during functions can go outside and enjoy the outdoors as well, and so can students. The whole team has been really excited about the potential for this really active front door to the school to be a vibrant, active community space for the entire student body. So if you go to the next slide, this is a view just inside the lobby on the second floor looking south. So we're looking towards that entry or that parking lot on the south side. And you can see just a little bit there on the right side in the distance, that guardrail around that stair that comes up from the lower level lobby. But you can see how open this lobby is and how light filled it is, and what a great space it will be for different pre-function uses. And same as Waldport and same as Newport, we want to enliven this space with art and artifacts from the performances and playbills and all that stuff. It's a real potential to make this a really proud space for the community and for the kids. So next view. So this is a view looking out, straight out to the west through that entry vestibule. So on the right, you can see the new doors into the existing cafeteria, and then straight out is the main entry vestibule. And you can see this kind of angled wedge-shaped space that we haven't decorated or done anything with yet, but it'll be a fantastic space to really make an active kind of gallery feel. I think the next slide is looking the other way. So here we're on the south side of that main kind of lobby space, just inside that terrace above the workshop, looking towards the cafeteria. You can see on the right side in the back there, those are the new doors into the existing cafeteria. And then on the left side, that big 2-story tall window wall with the stair then going down to that lower lobby. There's also an entryway, a walkway that you can kind of see in this image on the left side there that enters at the main lobby level from the upper parking lot. So this is a very complex site, and we're trying our best to make it inviting and welcoming and inspiring and make sure that people can get to this space from every direction.
That's it.
So thanks. That's it.
Any questions on Toledo? We can go back.
I have some questions about all three.
Yes.
Right, yeah, they're beautiful, just beautiful. It's very exciting to be able to offer this to our students, so beautiful work. As a school safety coordinator, my name is Sue Graves, together group 4. The one thing that's really kind of hitting in my mind over the last 5 or so years, maybe more than that, we've really worked hard as a school district and our facilities department to work on improving security at our schools. And so Rich and his team have built security vestibules at all of our schools, where it's not just a weather barrier, but now this is a place where people can actually check in, screen, conduct their business in the vestibule before maybe being entered into the school or into the facility. So especially for the 2 that are not connected to the building, I'm concerned that we don't have that. We just have the vestibule, but we don't have like a box office or a ticket box, ticket booth or a small office connected to the vestibule with, with a screen or a window or something to where that can occur. It's something that's been a real priority for us. And so that's a big thing for me. I even kind of wonder on this one here, I love that this one is connected to the school. It solves so many issues that you discussed and others. This one, perhaps the same thing, because if you're going to have several hundred people coming, to be able to have that ability to do that checking in and screening and stuff when necessary is really, really important for security.
So and I'm going to fail at answering your question, I think, but one of the thoughts here is that for these auditorium pieces during the school day, that these doors are all locked. So for instance, for Toledo, these vestibule doors and everything are locked. You actually have to go into the main office, go through the vestibule, get in to actually access these spaces. And the auditorium space itself, when it's not in use, is locked as well. So we're keeping students out of that space unless it's in use, and we're trying to control all of that. For Waldport and Newport, which are a little bit different, there have been some discussions. I know you guys have talked about this as well. That ideally the front office still does that vetting, and there's either a camera system or something that allows that vetting to happen. And in addition, there's also an instructor that's their home base. So in the case of Waldport, the band instructor is going to be in that space at all times, and he'll be able to control or have some more control over that door entry sequence. So, and there's some kinks to work out. There's been discussions of issuing badges to kids that might be using this space. There's been discussion of how that all works, but security has certainly been a topic as we've been talking about these, and we'll look forward to having you be involved as we move into schematic design and figure out some of the details on how that all works.
I think one of the things we talked about, Sue, the issue like up at Taft is we have a beautiful theater space, obviously much smaller and not designed like this, but it is zero use by the public, which is terrible that we have a space, but we can't control access during the school day. So these ones, that was one of the things we talked about. As far as the 100 or 200 or 300 people that come in, we don't vet if they're coming to a basketball game or for any of our events. And so, nor do I don't think we would. I mean, I don't think we would have the capacity to vet everybody that comes in, but that, as far as like, what's the security level of the school day, that definitely was something that came up on these, because it's why Taft can't be used like we would like to see it used.
Well, I can even imagine us using this during the school day for all kinds of purposes. And so then hundreds of students would be coming back and forth. And so again, like even when we were high East Campus, people cross to West Campus, there's a process to go through. And when visitors come to West Campus, they are checked and bussed in. And so same kind of thing here, I envision that anyway. But I haven't been involved in the discussion, so look forward to getting more involved in that. Thank you.
I know I'm a little late to the game, but one of the things I think of when I see these beautiful facilities is the opportunity to have them utilized by the community and even provide some sort of revenue stream.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's
Yeah.
been on the table or not.
For sure.
but- Okay.
It's definitely, so we had some early meetings that involved staff, students and staff, and then evening meeting where we had invited the community to come. And I think in all three cases, the communities in these three communities were, repeating myself, were really excited about the opportunity to have more, and that they don't necessarily have. I know the Newport has the path, but a lot of the other places don't have is a nice community gathering place that they can use.
My Aunt Helen used to tell me, wowie wow. She's from New York, Yonkers. So they're all beautiful. I'm interested in the potential for phasing, what that might look like.
We've been starting to look at that.
Ideally, if we can avoid that and have them functional in all aspects, that would be super ideal. But
The other side of that, though, is that you've got a super capable facilities department, much more capable than I think any of the others that I've ever worked with. So if there's an opportunity to save on some labor or do something in the future, fundraise for something, there's some work to do in short order if you're going to do the fundraising approach, but there are opportunities there.
Amy told us every time we met, I want 300 seats and I want the sound and lights all to work on opening day. That's kind of the feeling from everybody.
And enough storage.
Yeah, and enough storage.
There's never enough storage.
It was amazing. So like they said, we had the meetings, and I think we had 3 meetings in every area. I thought a lot of times the students were better than the adults about places they'd been and things they wanted to see and stuff. It was really encouraging that they were excited about having the space for kids that are doing the arts. And instead of the sports community always having their trophy case and stuff being from the sports side, I didn't really think about, but they wanted a space like this so they could put their playbills from other areas. I thought did a really good job of thinking out things they wanted, and they were all positive. There was no negatives. They were all positive. It's now we got to make it happen somehow.
Meet their expectations. Any other comments from a performer standpoint? What does that look like?
No, they look great. Like I said, the previous meeting, after touring some of these schools, for some of you who don't know me, I'm one of the newbies on the board. And I made the comment, I think I told my lease one time, it makes me want to go back to high school looking at these facilities. I went to a brand new high school, and it didn't hold a candle to what I'm seeing in these facilities. These are beautiful.
Well, you might tell your story about your 8th grader.
I could sophomore English. Do you want to join for a day? I'll get into geometry.
You looked excited.
Yeah.
You was gonna say yes.
You want to tell them your story about your 8th grader?
Oh, that was so cool. Okay, so we do Rotary Student of the Month. And I kid you not, last Wednesday, we have a Rotary meeting. It's at 7 a.m. at the Timbers. We have breakfast, and the parents and the kids are there. And every meeting, the president of the Rotary asks our 2 students of the month, if you had unlimited funds to give back to your community, what would it be? And we had a 7th grader, Adele Hamilton, and she said, I wish we could do something for the arts here. And she said, I feel like sports teams get a lot of recognition in school. And I just like, our costumes are being torn apart because they're in the back of Bacon Bush's classroom. Like, I just want something. And I was able to say to her in that moment, in front of Rotary and all the people, like, your community voted for you and you get a space. And she's in 7th grade, so she'll get to use it. And it was so cool to be able to say, no, we have an answer for you. And it just was this really cool moment for me that like she got to say that that's what she wanted and her community is believing in her. It was really cool.
That's cool. That's great.
Anything else?
Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for
So
having us.
I can give a quick, where we're headed. So we'll produce a package for you guys for your next board meeting. And I think there's probably a vote at that point for us to either go forward or not. And the goal would be that we would start in schematic design, which means developing this a little bit more after that next board meeting.
That's good.
All right. Thank you. Cool.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I cut off the applause.
No, you don't get a second one.
No curtain call.
Time.
So nothing else for our agenda, so the work session is adjourned.
We've actually time
And we
to.
have 17 minutes to
Great.
make our way to the cafeteria
Yeah.
and get set up and
Go to the
Go to
restroom,
the
get
room,
water.
yeah.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, you guys.
Thank you.